Minokichi was 18, and he wanted to get home alive. If the cold won, he and his old teacher would die in the deep winter snow. They were woodcutters in Musashi. Daily, they walked 5 miles to a forest and cut heavy loads of wood. His teacher had done this work for many years and walked beside him. Before we go on, here are a few useful words to listen for. A wide river lay between the forest and their village, so they crossed it in a small riverboat. Bridges never lasted because the fast water carried them away. That evening, thick snow covered the forest road. The 2 men reached the river, but the boatman had already left. His boat waded across the water. They found the boatman's small hut. It had 1 door, 2 floor mats, and no window or fire. They closed the door and lay beneath their straw coats. The old man soon slept. Minokichi listened to wind and snow striking the walls. The nearby river made a deep noise, and the little hut shook. Minokichi tried to stay determined, but his body shook with cold. He remained awake, listening as each fierce gust pressed against the hut's weak door. With some hesitation, he shut his eyes. If he were braver, he thought, he would not fear the wild wind so much. At last, exhausted, he fell asleep. Cold snow suddenly touched Minokichi's face, and he woke. The door stood open. In the pale light reflected from the snow, he saw a woman dressed in white. She bent over the sleeping old man and blew upon him. Her breath looked like bright white smoke. Then the woman slowly turned toward Minokichi. Minokichi wanted to cry out, but no sound came. She moved closer until her beautiful face almost touched his, and her eyes filled him with fear.
I meant to do the same to you, but you are young, and I feel pity for you.
She whispered the words and smiled without warmth.
You must never tell anyone about this night. If you speak, I will know. Then I will kill you. Remember my words.
Without hesitation, she passed through the open door and disappeared. Minokichi pushed wood against it, then wondered whether the woman in white had only been a dream. Then he touched his teacher's face. It was as cold as ice, and the old man was dead. The truth of the terrible night could not be denied. After sunrise, the boatman found Minokichi beside the body. He was still alive but could not speak, and the warning remained clear in his mind. He remembered the woman's threat and kept the white woman's secret. Although the boatman had found him, Minokichi told no one what had happened inside the hut. Minokichi remained sick for many weeks. Cold, grief, and exhaustion left him weak, but he never told anyone what had happened inside the hut during that terrible night. When his strength returned, Minokichi went back to work, determined to support his mother. Every morning, he entered the forest alone, and every evening, he carried wood home for her to sell. A quiet dread followed him near the river. He expected to see white clothes among the trees, but nothing appeared, and he never forgot the woman's eyes. One winter evening, Minokichi met a young traveler on the forest road. She was tall, slim, and very beautiful, with skin that was unusually pale.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Her answer came in a voice like a gentle song. They walked together, and the young woman said her name was Yuki. Her parents had died, and she was traveling to Yedo, hoping family members there would help her find work.
Have you promised to marry anyone?
Yuki laughed softly.
I am free. Have you promised to marry anyone?
I am not married. I only have my mother to care for.
They continued in silence, but their eyes often met. Despite his exhaustion after the day's work, Minokichi wished the road were longer, and his earlier dread became weaker beside her. When they reached the village, Minokichi stopped outside his house. A shy hesitation held him silent for a moment before he finally spoke to Oyuki.
You should rest here and eat with us.
Oyuki looked toward the dark road.
If you were willing, I would gladly offer you a safe place tonight.
She accepted his invitation. Minokichi's mother prepared a warm meal for Oyuki and liked her at once. Oyuki was welcomed by a woman who was always kind to strangers. She asked Oyuki to remain for several days. Oyuki never continued to Yedo, and in time she married Minokichi, became part of the family, worked hard, and treated his mother with love. 5 years later, Minokichi's mother died peacefully. Her final words praised Oyuki as a good wife and daughter, leaving Minokichi grateful for their years together. In the years that followed, Oyuki gave birth to 10 healthy children. They had fair skin and bright faces, and the family grew quickly. As the children grew together, the family filled the little house with work, laughter, and noise from morning until evening. Yet, Oyuki never seemed to grow older. Other village women noticed and wondered about her. Minokichi, however, only believed that he had been given a wonderful wife. One quiet night, the 10 children slept in the next room. Beneath a paper lamp, Oyuki sat in Minokichi's house and worked with her sewing box. Years of labor had brought Minokichi both happiness and exhaustion. Still, he was determined to keep his family safe and comfortable, whatever work the future might bring. He watched the warm light upon Oyuki's pale face. Suddenly, an old memory returned. After a moment's hesitation, he began to speak, unaware of what his words would cause.
You remind me of someone I saw when I was 18. She was as beautiful and white as you.
Tell me about her. Where did you see her?
Minokichi told her everything. He described the hut, the white breath, and his teacher's frozen body. As he spoke, his old dread returned, filling the quiet room.
I never knew if it was real or a dream. Perhaps she was the woman of the snow.
Oyuki threw down her sewing and rose. Her gentle face became terrible. She bent over Minokichi and cried into his face.
It was I. I was that woman.
Minokichi could not move.
I warned you never to tell anyone. I promised to kill you if you spoke.
Her eyes moved toward the room where their children slept. Her anger changed into pain.
If I did not have those children, I would kill you now. But they need you.
Her voice grew thin and cold, like wind passing through trees.
You must take good care of them. They should never have reason to complain about you. If they suffer because of you, I will return.
Then, Oyuki's body became a bright white mist. It rose toward the dark roof beams and moved through the smoke hole while Minokichi stared in horror. Minokichi reached for her, but his hands found only cold air. The paper lamp shook, and then Minokichi's house became completely still around him and the sleeping children. Oyuki was never seen again. Minokichi remained with their children and remembered her final warning. He had survived the snow, but his broken promise had cost him the woman he loved. Here are some of the words you met in this story. Say each one to yourself.